Awesome, awesome. Great evening, great evening. I am the dynamic daring, one of a kind Diva Denise Silas. Excited to have you guys here on Let's Talk About It Tuesday. We have some great information in store for us, but how many of you, if this is your first time, please put it in the chat that this is your first time tuning in with us. Hopefully it won't be your last time, but also to put in there where you are tuning in from. It's always exciting to know who is in the house. And I get excited when it's multiple states. Like, it just does it for me. I love it. I love it. So I am going to, we always just try to introduce Empowered by DS before we get started so that you know. So if you're on here before, you've heard it before, but we do want people to know who we are and why we do what we do. So let me see. This is when you hope that all things work out right. Did I hit that? That's not what I hit. See, already it's not doing right. Let's take two. Here we go again, because that is not what I thought I touched. Okay, I think we closer to where we're supposed to be. Yes, there it is. Okay, almost. There it is. Okay. All right, here we go. So, Empowered by DS, and welcome to Let's Talk About It Tuesday. And who is Empowered by DS? So, Empowered by DS, DS is me, Denise Silas, but I work with my two daughters. Our whole mission is to empower people to be, no, not people, honestly, empower women to be the best version of themselves in their current season. We host multiple experiences. That is our logo up in the right corner. If you notice, it's two ladies facing and coming together. The whole purpose of that is that our goal is to do all women. So we don't exclude against anyone, women, but we do it all through experiences. So people always say, you're doing everything. I'm not. I'm doing one main thing, and I'm empowering women, but I do it multiple ways. So weekly, we have this every Tuesday for the most part. We're right here. We have a weekly devotional that we do. Right now, we're working on John Maxwell's 20 Most Powerful Minutes of a Leader's Day. Then we monthly hold what's called Diva's Dinner and Dialogue. The whole purpose of that is to just give women social self-care, helping them to connect through conversation. And then quarterly, I do empowerment workshops. So January, we start off with a vision board party. In April, we do a retreat. In July, we do a mid-year inspection. And then in October, we do our Finish Strong series. So we do that for the sake of helping women to develop personally and professionally, all about identifying their gifts and talents. That I have a nickname. People say I'm always flipping, switching, and pushing buttons. So my goal is to help you shine your light and then push you out your comfort zone. And then also quarterly, we do an empowerment subscription box, and I'm going to show you that in a little bit. Yearly, we do our April retreat. Once a year around the springtime, spring into a new you. So I do a focus fitness challenge. And then we just in September had our 15th ovarian cancer awareness event in memory of my sister. On Saturday, November 1st, I'll kick off our annual giving. We do what's called the adopted grandparent. And so through the partnership of my customers, people in the community, we're able to provide a gift for over 400 seniors in the northern Mississippi area. So you'll be seeing some information about that. And then we close out the year, and I hope all of you guys would come to our Vision of Victory party. And that's just to celebrate all the things that we've done, little or small. I don't care what it looks like for you. We are there to celebrate each other and get ourselves ready for the new year. So those are the things that we do. Also, for our next, we won't have in November, just the Tuesday of Thanksgiving. We won't have, but we have iJudge Green is coming back, really talking about how to use food to fuel you versus not for pleasure. And then Carol Allen is going to be talking about redesigning your life, how she has really just taken on a new outlook after divorce and then getting up in age. And then I finally found my menopause. Woo, lady. Push your hand up, put your name in the chat if you need some assistance on this menopausal journey that some of us seasoned folks are on. I'm what they call a seasoned saint, right? I am a seasoned saint. So if you're a seasoned saint with me, you put it in the chat. Them hot flashes. I got a fan, y'all. Look, a whole fan. That's it. Y'all gonna see me turn it on, turn it off, turn it on, turn it off in this next hour. So, but I'm excited to have her come on. Yes, ma'am. Yes. On the 18th. So, and then you want to follow her. So catch that name because she does a lot of different videos on Facebook. So follow Glennis as well with it. So we're in the midst of every quarter, we do a subscription box and it works as a great gift box. Some people, we have ladies who get it just every quarter for themselves. This would be our seventh box. That would be our seventh box. And then we have one coming up for the holidays. So if you're looking for a gift for yourself, just to help you, it's a journal in there that just kind of helps you focus on your goals. And in 12 weeks, that's the only thing you focus on within that journal. That may be a great gift you can give to somebody. I have people who give it to people for their birthdays, to when they have a promotion at work, just had a baby. So you can always look at it with that as well. It retails for $55 with the t-shirt and $35 without a t-shirt. So you can do either or, but it's a fun way to just stay and pamper yourself and to share the love with somebody else as well. This is our quarter. We have 2 events left in 2025. I cannot believe it. We're down to just 2. So November 7th is our next Diva Dinner and Dialogue. Well, we are featuring some small businesses. So it's a pop-up shop. We have from jewelry to clothing to journals, tumblers, sangria. One of my friends has her own brand. She's going to be there. There's a few others, natural skincare, body butters. So come out and support. You can come. And if you want to have dinner, it's $30. If you don't want to do the dinner, then it's only $15. And then with that, we also are having Miss Black Mississippi is going to be there also if we want to bring the younger ladies to be able to, she's going to pour into them. And while we're dialoguing amongst each other, she's going to have what we call Queen's Corner to be able to just to motivate and encourage them. Each of the young ladies will get a sash and a crown as well and be able to take pictures with her also. So please come out on that November 7th, so a week from Friday as well. So you can text the number that you get, the information you get from me. You can text back DDD and the information comes directly to your phone. Check out our website. In addition to the events that we hold, I do one-on-one coaching. I do group coaching, group training, and inspirational speaker. I'm not a motivational speaker because motivation comes from within, but I do want to inspire you to get out your comfort zone. I do want to make you uncomfortable. That's what I do want to do. So I encourage you to check out our website. If there's any way that I can assist you and be the best version of yourself, that is my main mission in life. And follow us on all of our platforms. Everything is Empowered by DS. And then if you're on Facebook, we do have a Facebook community called Decide Tribe. I would love to have you in there. It gives you opportunity to showcase anything that you're offering as well. And if you got motivated by something, put it in the group, because if it motivated you, you're probably going to motivate somebody else as well. So don't be holding on to your own inspiration. Share that inspiration with the rest of us as well. So we would love for you to be a part of Decide Tribe. And Decide stands for Divas, Empowering and Connecting Individuals Who Dare to Excel. So if you are a diva excelling, daring to excel, we would love to have you with us. So this is why y'all here. Y'all weren't here to hear all of that, but I had to give it to you anyway. So, so I am going to introduce you guys. I'm going to take it off because I love to see other people. So I'm going to stop my share so you can get ready for yours, Dr. Precious. So I do have to pull this up. So welcome, everybody. Make sure you put in the chat where you are tuning in from. We would love to know. Let us know if you see the fan got to come on. Let us know. I'm telling you, on, off. Let us know where you're tuning in from. Is this your first time? How did you find out about tonight as well? So here we go. I had it up and then I didn't. Um, this is what happens. Sorry about that. It's coming. It's coming. Say hi to the people. Hey, y'all. I had it. Lord. So I always tell people I'm working on being really fabulous. Is not that day though. I'm just good, but we want to be great, right? I'm just, work in progress as well. So I did have it. Why can't I not find it? In our gazillion text, I just had this up. I know she's amazing. She's an amazing mom and an amazing um, wife. I know it starts off with you being his wife in the
Yes,
bio.
I am totally fine if we don't do all of that and just jump into the stuff.
We can jump into stuff, but I'm gonna come back to it because I
Okay.
owe you.
Okay.
So let me. I am so sorry because I did have it up. Let me. I always like to spotlight our guests. So, because I always end it like this: coming to you all the way from somewhere in America, Dr. Precious. Okay.
Thank you. That intro probably started with uh I'm Ken's wife and Carson and Kenny's mom. That's typically how it starts before
Yes,
anything
yes, I
else.
remember that part. So you can go
Yes.
ahead, and then as I close it up, I'll make sure that they know
Oh,
who we're working with. So if you want to go ahead, because I don't know
yeah.
why I can't find it.
Totally fine. I'm so glad to be here, to be with everyone. This is definitely near and dear to my heart to even be able to share about leadership, and all the things. I am truly a vessel for what God is doing in the earth. So I invite and ask Him to come into all of this space to make sure that what I say is just vesseling for what He would have you to hear to move you closer to where He wants you to be in the earth. So we're here to talk about leadership. Denise, do you have questions, or you want me to jump into just sharing whatever?
I want you to jump in, and then I will conversate into your information.
Oh,
And then
yeah.
if anybody has any questions, please put it in the chat. I would definitely be watching the chat as well. So as she's sharing, we would love for you to engage in the chat.
Yeah, so there are just a few things I'm going to share because these are typical questions that I get. So a lot of the work that I do is coaching and facilitating sessions around leadership development for leaders and their teams all over the United States. So everyone from CEOs to school leaders to teachers, anyone who's leading anyone, the foundation of leadership is how you lead yourself. If you can't lead yourself, it's very, very difficult for you to lead other people. Most people will follow those who know how to lead themselves because otherwise you don't have an anchor. And so a lot of what we're going to talk about tonight is really about finding that anchor. What is your anchor as you lead? For a lot of people who are in leadership positions, they're in those positions because someone thought that they were really good at whatever they were already doing. And sometimes that doesn't translate. And so my story is that I was really good at teaching. I was a great teacher. I could teach all the things. I was a social studies teacher. I loved teaching. I had mastered teaching. And somebody thought since I was a good teacher, I would be a great leader. My emotional intelligence didn't grow at the same rate as my leadership skills. And so putting me over people, having people to report to me, was a bit of a challenge because there were things that I didn't yet know about myself that this opportunity to lead would reveal very quickly. And so, if you're in positions of leadership, I think I have ultimately become what I needed. I help people to see themselves more clearly as they try to lead other people by first leading themselves. And so
So,
we start, go ahead, Denise.
so what does that look like when you say that you had your emotional intelligence didn't match up, like what does that look like for somebody who may not even understand emotional intelligence?
Yes,
How does
yes.
that show up?
Yes. Oh, very good question. So the foundation of emotional intelligence is self-awareness. So sometimes some of you have likely experienced leaders who say one thing, but they do something completely different. Or they say one thing and they really should not be the person saying anything. They should really be in a corner because they don't know how to talk to people. So
Ooh,
self-awareness is really being able to know how you are not just perceived by yourself, not just who you are and who you think you are, but how do other people perceive you? So I often say you don't need other people to define you, but you do need other people to confirm who you think you are. You can tell me all day that you are empathetic or you're organized, but if I don't see you that way, I can't confirm that. And so you just think that's who you are. So self-awareness is really the foundation. And for me, stepping into a leadership role, not having a strong handle on who I was, left me in a space where I was imitating what I had seen, which is what a lot of us do as leaders. If the person who occupied the role before we do, we imitate what we saw them do, or we try to do the opposite of what we saw them do because we didn't
yes,
like the
yes.
way they did that thing. And so we end up leading by default as opposed to leading from a space of being anchored. And when you're anchored, you know who you are. And that really starts with understanding what you value and how you see the world through the lens of your values.
So how did you, when you discovered that you had that imbalance, what were some of the things that, did somebody tell you or you figured it out yourself? Let's start there.
Oh, hindsight is 2020. Hindsight is 2020. I messed some stuff up. I mean, I messed up relationships. I messed up so many things to where I had to sit with myself and I didn't have a coach who could tell me and who could really see into all of the aspects of the role that I was in. But I knew that what I was getting from people is not what I needed. It's not what I wanted for them. So the teachers that I was leading, I knew that they weren't giving me what they had given someone else.
Mm.
But I couldn't figure out why they weren't responding to me the way that I thought they should. And it was there were a few teachers who would say, actually, because when you said this, the way you said it, it didn't feel right. It didn't feel good. It was condescending. Or it
Mm.
was so I would get that feedback and that taught me how to adjust maybe some things that I was saying, but it didn't change. It didn't help me enough to unpack who I wanted to be as a leader. I was still adjusting very, very few things, but not really going into the depths of who I wanted to be as a leader. It wasn't until years later on a different team where I had the bandwidth to really sit with who are you as a leader? Like, what do you believe about leadership? Because what we don't realize when we're in leadership positions is that what we believe about ourselves shows up in everything we do.
Right.
And so there were a lot of times where I was making decisions, but those decisions were so shaky and I wasn't saying it with any level of conviction, or I was saying, well, this is what the leaders above me say. I'm just telling you what they don't shoot the messenger because I really didn't have any conviction about what it was that I was doing or saying. I was just going through the motions or I was imitating. And in large part, that imitation led to a lot of heartbreak, a lot of heartache, and a lot of challenges because it wasn't authentic. And that was the biggest piece. I wasn't an authentic leader in my first year or so of leadership. I was not an authentic leader because I didn't even know what that was. No one ever talked to me about what it looked like to lead authentically, to lead from a place of values, to know who you are as a leader. They only talked about the skills. In most leadership development programs, they talk about the skills of leadership, how to have hard conversations, what to say, what step
Mm.
one, step two, step three. And so I could recite those things or I could pass the test. I have a whole PhD in leadership. Like I could do that, but actually interacting with people from a place that was anchored And for me, spirituality and faith and all of those things are swirling at the core of who I said I was, but what it looked like in practice was very different. And I hadn't yet learned how to operationalize what I was hearing in church on Sunday and in all the leadership books. I hadn't figured out how to operationalize it. And that was the turning point for me when I actually had the bandwidth and the space and a leader who said, what does this actually look like for you? Like, I hear what you're saying, but what does leadership actually look like for you? That was the turning point. No one had ever asked me that before. No one had ever sat down and said, okay, so we're going to put you in this position. Let's talk about what it actually looks like for you to do this position. Most people, when they come into a position, they look at the job description. Can you do what's on the job description?
Mhm.
And there's so much more to leadership than what's on the job description.
Right. And it's much more to leadership than when you have become a manager, right? And nobody has taught you. And what I have found in working with a lot of people in management, that they just haven't had the training of, one, leading themselves, or two, it's just what leadership means and how to understand people, who you're working with, how to get the best out of people. Like,
Yeah.
they haven't figured that piece out. So if a person individually is trying to be the best leader they can, like,
Mhm.
I'm going to read and listen to, if it has the word LEA, like, because I'm just hungry for that, right?
Yes.
I'm hungry for that because I want to be a good leader myself.
Yeah.
But if a person doesn't know where to start, or that whole journey of making sure that they are self-aware enough
Mhm.
to attach that emotional intelligence, figure out if they talking to people
Yep.
correctly,
Yep.
right? Where would you say they need to start their process of becoming that person?
Yes, great question. Because for me, self-awareness in everything that I teach, in every discussion, in every conversation, every coaching session, every facilitation, we start with values. We start with knowing what your values are. And I actually want to take us through a quick exercise. So everybody, hopefully you have your pencil and your paper ready, because we are going to go through this quick exercise to narrow down what your values are. So I'm going to put on the screen a list of values. And when I put that list of values up, I'm going to give you 1 minute only, to read through the list and write down your top 10 values. Okay. 1 minute to write down your top 10 values. I'm going to take it back first. Let me start with my share, get my screen correct over here to present so you can see them all well.
There you go.
Okay, so you should be able to see my screen. And what I'm
Yes.
asking you to do is just jot down your top 10 values. I'm going to put 1 minute up. See if I can put 1 minute up. Oh, let me take you back.
Uh-oh.
Sorry about that. There we go. You got a little extra time. Your top 10. Down to about 30 seconds. Final 10 seconds. All right, so now you have your 10. Now I want you to underline, of those 10, underline your top 5. And I'm going to give you 30 seconds to do that. Just the top 5 of those 10. That should have gone a lot faster. Final 10 seconds. Y'all thought we were done, but we're not. From the five, I want you to now circle your top three. Top three.
Mm.
Top three. Let's take 10 seconds to do that. And now, just your top one. Put a star next to that top one that you feel is really your anchor.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. That top one. Yeah.
Can you put them in in the chat?
Yes. Drop that top one in the chat for us. That top value, that core anchor value. Trust, family, making a difference, connection, caring, family. Yes.
Peace,
Peace, family. Mm-hmm.
spirituality.
Spirituality. Mm-hmm.
I don't even remember seeing peace.
Yep. Integrity. Yes.
Mm.
God, spirituality, honesty. So if you think about the last major issue, argument, challenge that you had, you can probably trace it back to that core value, that anchor value, or those top three. Most challenges that we have with people, most opposition that we have is because one of those values has been violated.
Mm.
Our interpretation of that value is how we see the world, is how we see everyone's actions, is how we see the world in general. When people go against that value, it challenges how we see the world, and that's a problem.
Mm.
And so what I found was growth was my core value. It was my anchor value. And as a leader, I was consistently looking for growth. The problem with my value, and this is what I call the shadow side of values, because your core value is like your superpower, right? So when you use it and it's standing up in you, it's great. It is your superpower. But there's a shadow side. When you misuse it or when you overuse it, you're in the shadow side. And sometimes when we use our values and we are in the shadow side as leaders, it has a negative impact on everyone around us. So here's what I found. My value of growth was great for looking at student work, for looking at how teachers were performing, because the growth value for me means consistently improving. So I'm consistently looking for ways to improve. That plays well when you're just looking at numbers on a paper. But when you're only talking to people about what they're doing wrong, because you're calling out the places where we need to grow, that doesn't play well in leadership
Mm.
unless you have a specific way you talk about it and you've built those relationships that can withstand that conversation.
Conversation. Mhm.
So I had not built the relationships that could withstand growth conversations, but because growth was my core value, I was having growth conversations because that's how I saw the world.
Interesting.
Yes. So as a leader, you have to recognize what it is that really drives who you are as a leader. And if you recognize what that is, you can better understand why things bother you, how you need to adjust. Because if you know everyone on your team's value, then you understand why people do what they do. It's not because they woke up this morning and decided, oh, I'm going to mess Denise's day up today. No, they're just living out their value. They
Mhm.
don't know that
Mhm.
it bothers you because we're not taught to have those conversations because we typically don't start from a place of values. We start from a place of opposition. And that's where the conflict generally starts.
It's interesting, and you hit on it because I was about to say, isn't it important to know the core values of your team, the team, so
Yeah.
that you can work better together.
Yeah.
Um, as you were describing that, I I'm very I say making a difference, but the more you talk, ambition just
Mm,
was like driving me. I was like, is it make a difference? Maybe
yeah.
it's not make a difference
Yeah.
because that if you don't got no whew, that just does something to me. Like
Exactly. See? And so think about when I was coming across teachers that my perception of them is that they were not willing to grow because they weren't honoring the feedback I was offering. Oh, it's cutthroat. It is cutthroat because my growth value was really coming into conflict with their values, and we never had a values conversation.
right.
And so, as a leader, we start from a place of values because that is how you see the world. That is the foundation of your self awareness. And oftentimes, when we're in leadership positions, it's hard for us to lead ourselves because we don't anchor to our values. The only way you can lead yourself is to run every thought that you have, every word that you want to say. The only way you can actually lead people in action to do something is to make sure that you are running it through your values first. I felt like there were moments in my leadership where I was being asked to do things that did not align to my values. And sometimes what we say is, well, it doesn't align to who I am, but we leave it there. And the
Mhm.
fact of the matter is we need to go a little deeper. What part of you does it not align to? And for me, it didn't align to my growth value. It didn't align to my family value. The way that I was being asked to lead and the amount of work that I was being asked to do, the amount of time that it took for me to do that, it didn't align to my family value. And so there was conflict. And so if we know what those values are, we know how we can better craft the way we live our lives because those values are important to us and we are out of alignment when we're not in those values. The other thing I'll say about values before we move on is that your values sit on top of a belief. So my value of growth sits on top of the belief for me about growth. And for me, I believe that I am talented and gifted by God to do certain things. I believe that when I am focused on growth, I'm being a good steward of the gifts and talents God has given me. That's the way I see growth. Well, if I'm not clear on how things are connecting in my leadership to that, then I'm going to make some moves that are not aligned. And that's where I'm going to start to feel like I'm living a double life, like I'm not in alignment. And when I don't feel like I'm in alignment, I feel like I'm being hypocritical. And that's kind of the path that we follow. When we are more aware of what our values are, what those values mean to us, and how we lead as a result of what we believe about ourselves and about other people, then we can better align, we can better approach those that we're leading because we're coming from a place of values. People typically are not going to argue values unless they don't see you living them.
Mm.
Yeah. And I will say, I think I told you this before, spirituality comes up a lot in the sessions that I lead, especially around values. Spirituality comes up a lot. And in the 5 years that I've been doing these sessions and having conversations about values, the second layer of the conversation is always, how would people know that that's your value if you don't wear it on a t-shirt, if you don't say it out loud? Can they look at your actions and determine that those are your values? And spirituality is always one that is that has been a challenge in every session for people to come up with what are the actions that people would see me live? What are the words they would hear me say? What are the thoughts I would have? What are the actions they would see from me where they would say, yes, spirituality is her value, without me having to say it, or without me wearing a Jesus loves me shirt, or I'm a Christian, or I go to Brown Baptist, or I go to Greater Community Temple. Like, what would they see you doing that would indicate that?
Mm.
That's where the challenge is. A lot of us, even all the things, now I'm not telling you you're not living the stuff that you put in this chat. What I am saying to you is if no one can confirm it, it is still aspirational.
Mm. Wow. Okay. So let's, ooh, okay. So let's talk about it from the standpoint of working with other people in general. So whether you're leading them, because like you said, first we got to lead ourselves. So how we
Yes.
lead ourselves impacts everybody that we work with, whether we are, because I do believe, and it shouldn't have to be, but there is a difference when you're leading at a job versus
Mhm.
leading a volunteer organization, right? Where people, they don't have to do it. So your impact, you have to work harder about making sure that you are leading from your values, that you are respecting other people's values, because you have to get them to want to follow you, right? Because in a job, I kind of got some control over you, right? I
Yep.
can write you up, that type of stuff. But
Yes.
so when you're talking about, because whether even as an entrepreneur, you're kind of still working with a volunteer organization, you're trying to get them. So, entrepreneur, if you're in an organization, if you're at church, if you're in ministry, so
Mhm.
how do you use this information to get to a point where you have better response
Yeah.
so that you guys can collectively do your mission? Does that make sense?
It does. And I think it works in both places the same way. If
Okay.
I know what your values are and I know what's valuable to you, most people volunteer in places that are aligned to the difference they want to make.
Right.
And so there is a connection there. The question becomes, asking people, why are you volunteering here? What is it that drew you to this particular volunteer opportunity? Because there's something that drew them. There's a difference they want to make. It's impact based on someone they're connected to or an experience they've had. You need to know their story. Because the more you know about why they chose that particular organization, the more you can tailor your conversation
Mm-hmm.
to get to their inspiration that leads to them being motivated to continue to do or to do more. But if you never have a conversation about why, then you don't have enough information to get them to the place where they're inspired to even motivate themselves to do things without you asking them. And so I think a large part of this is in leadership, no matter where you're leading, we are not taught to have conversations around who you are. We're taught to focus on what you do,
Mm-hmm.
which means that all the value that we're placing on people is what they can bring to the table.
Paper.
And that is no longer the world we live in. People do not want to be valued for what they do. They want to be valued for who they are. But if you never ask me who I am, you never ask me about what I love, you never ask me about the people that surround me, you never ask me about what I do outside of the time you see me and we engage together, then it's going to be really hard for me to be inspired by you or motivated to do anything other than what the job description says.
Mm-hmm.
You get people to go above and beyond based on how you lead your ship. Again, it's the same. When you lead from a place of values, you're just going to get better results from everyone.
And it's the fact of getting to know people, right? It's just taking the time to get to know who people are. And it's funny because every time I have stuff like this, I'm like, that's why I ask all those questions. People,
Yes.
people like, you ask a lot of questions. See, I didn't know what I was doing, but I knew what I was doing. Like, I
Yes,
think it's important to get to know people, to ask those about your kids. What do you do? What, just because then you find out what's important to them
exactly.
as
Exactly.
well, and be able to, so how can you get more into that deeper of the value part of it? If you're a leader, you're like, okay, I'm not necessarily going to have, not sure how to have the whole put this on the screen thing, but how can I just kind of sneakily be getting into get the deeper information?
I
You should
would
put it on the screen.
I would, yes. And so on my website, I'm going to drop it in the chat. You can go and get the exact sheet that I use, download it, make copies, share it with use it. Use it.
Mhm.
I don't think these should be secret conversations. And I think a large part of what happens is we're operating in secret. And while people often say leadership is lonely, I would argue that it doesn't have to be. That's a choice. Leadership does
I
not
agree.
have to be lonely because when you recognize your position on the team, it's not at the top. It's empowering everyone around you to support whatever the mission is. Like you are not, out front pulling everyone behind you.
Right.
You want everyone to be moving together. And the way to do that is to learn about people, make sure that people feel like they're a part of the team, make sure they know that the team can't operate without them because what they bring to the team is valuable. And you don't get that type of information if you're having secret conversations. Like put it all out there and don't be afraid to talk about it. And for a lot of leaders, a lot of teams, even the work that I come in and do with them is in large part providing space for them to do just that. Because leaders, a lot of leaders who are in certain positions don't know how to do that. They don't know how to have those conversations. I didn't know how to have those conversations.
Hmm.
My first couple of years of leadership, I told you, I was like, oh my gosh, I got it. First of all, I didn't want to do small talk. We have 120 kids that need to get in this building, that need to do this, this, and this. Like I was very much like, we have things we need to do. I don't need to hear about what you did on the weekend. That is not important to me. These kids have been waiting all weekend to get back to this school because this is where they eat. This is where they get attention. Like I was so focused on that side of it
Hmm.
that I missed so many opportunities to build relationships that would do exactly what I was trying to do for kids.
Right. Right.
So don't miss the opportunity to have all of the conversations out in the open so people can learn about one another. The challenge comes in when we have these conversations, we say that our values are what we said they are, but then people don't see us living
Yeah.
them.
Mhm.
And that's the process we go through. I'm going to share screen one more time so we can talk about the process we go through when it comes to going through what I call the anchored leader framework. When we are anchored, I'm going to put all of them up here so we can just talk about them all together. When we are anchored, the anchored leader framework says, first of all, we have to come into an awareness. There has to be a knowing. Like we just talked about, I know what my value is. The next question is, what does it look like for me to actually live it? I'm learning about myself, what triggers me. I'm learning. So now I know more. Now that you know more, you're not yet doing anything with it. You just know it.
No. Hmm.
Okay. So then we move to attunement, and attunement is literally how it sounds, tuning in. When you tune in, you can see all the places that you know, but you don't do. You know what you should be saying in response to the person that just triggered you something awful. But that old familiar tone, that old familiar comforting cussing out, whatever it is that you generally do to respond to people who get on your nerves, it's familiar. It's like a warm hug because it's what we do and we feel so comfortable doing it. That's knowing it, but not doing it. You know how you should respond. You know what triggers you, and you have some strategies that you can work. You can unpack it to see what it is. But if you're just saying the words and you're not doing anything to follow through with those words to demonstrate it, that's why the question here is, where is my talking outpacing my walking? You talking a good game, but if you're not actually doing it consistently, therein is the problem. You need better direction. You need to slow down enough to be able to see the gaps in what you say and what you
You
do.
do.
And that takes work. And this is the place where I talk about the recovering hypocrite. You in awareness, you see all the places where, oh, I'm out operating pretty hypocritical right here. I'm saying it, but I'm not really following through with it. In attunement, you start to see, oh my gosh, this is what it looks like when I should be saying this. You can slow down and start to see it, but that sets up kind of a cycle where you know better, but you don't do better. It sets up that cycle. But when you can slow down enough to see the places where you can do better, oftentimes when people trigger us and we respond, we clap back, we go off, we pop off, whatever terminology you want to use. When we go back at them, we have this false sense of um, quickness to respond. We need to respond right now because they said it right now. If they said it right now, we need to respond right now. I want to push you to slow all the way down because if you're paying attention, what they said and how you heard it may be different. Maybe this is a place to ask a question. Maybe this is a place to just pause and say, you know what? Let's circle back to that in a minute. Give me a minute. Let me process what you just said. Let me think more about what you're raising for me. Give yourself the time to process what's being said so you can determine what you need to say or do in response to that. That false sense of urgency, that's all self-inflicted. That's not that's not real. Like you have a choice. And so we swirl a lot in this attunement space until we can more consistently go back to who we said we are and be that. And that's when we get to the anchored self. We want to be anchored in life and leadership because ultimately it's not just about leadership. How you lead is oftentimes how you live. How you lead is oftentimes how you live. And if you are living anchored, it's easier for you to lead anchored. But
Mhm.
if you're living hypocritical in your everyday, all the time space, you're going to lead hypocritical because it's natural. It's what you're doing. You can't turn it on and turn it off. And so the goal is to be more consistent because ultimately, I'm going to stop sharing because I think we've gotten what we need from there. Ultimately, we want to be the kind of leader and friend that other people want to respect, want to be around, want to hang out with, want to make sure that you're good because I see you trying, I see you working. Like we don't want to be the leader that nobody wants to talk to outside of work. And we've all had those leaders. And when it's 5 o'clock, I'm clocking out and I'm good if I don't see you anymore until in the morning. But if you're a leader who's living anchored, people aren't running away from you.
This is good. I love it, Maxine, when you say we are all a piece of the grand puzzle. And I always talk about how being uniquely made, and we all God's masterpiece, and His masterpiece is a puzzle.
Yeah.
And even when you
Yes.
think about being a piece of the puzzle, how it's even every piece of there's no two pieces of puzzle that look the same. They're all shaped differently. However, the other piece of that is they only connected to certain people. So when I say that we all have people assigned to us in the puzzle, the pieces around the puzzle are what's assigned to you, right? So
Yeah.
it's being able to look at all of those things, the values, understanding, respecting each other's values. I think that's if more of us could take the time to want to know other people's values. I
Yes.
understand it for myself. And sometimes people, because we don't want people to say, well, that's me and that's just how I am. No, you're understanding it. So then you know how to work with the other people. Like it's still being
Exactly.
able to not just have your own values as that's the run of the show and that's it. It's a piece of right the
Right.
connecting it all together.
Right.
And I
Right.
think we all have to have different values so we can all have the puzzle done. Like
Right. We all have different assignments,
right.
right? We're all on different assignments. No two people are going to see like even the values that were in the chat, honesty, integrity. I mean, I could ask all of these people what it means to them, how they would define it, and they would say something different
Mm-hmm.
because it's shaped by our experiences. It's shaped by how we've seen ourselves and how we've grown or not grown or how we've regressed, where we are in this moment. There's so many
Mm-hmm.
things that shape our definition of that particular value. And unless we can define it for ourselves, it's hard for us to live it.
Right.
So you've got to be clear about what that value is, how it looks in practice, what it looks like when it's misused or overused, and how we use it to help everyone else to move forward. Our values are not just for us.
Mm-hmm.
They're for everyone because they help us to be the actual piece that people around us need us to be so that they can actually get to where they're trying to get to.
Correct.
Their assignment is connected to
Correct.
us living our assignment, to living our values. And as a leader, you've got to understand that somebody plants the seed, somebody waters, other people prune. Like that process is happening under our leadership. And it's up to us to recognize the part that we play in everyone else's journey. Otherwise, it's really hard for you to lead other people because you're, again, not yet leading yourself well.
And I don't know why this as you were talking, this popped in my head also is when could be leading somebody you never meet. So if
Yes.
you are living out your values, right, where
Mhm.
it's affirmed, right,
Mhm,
because
mhm.
it's clear, you can
Yeah,
be impacting somebody you never have a conversation with. So your ability to lead yourself well can have a domino effect, even
yes.
though you don't even realize that you're leading them.
That's the beauty of it. And sometimes I talk about this concept of generational wealth. And for a lot of us, we hear that and we hear money, we hear financial wealth, but values-based generational wealth is just as powerful. Because if generations from now, they understand who they are, they understand their values, their quality of life is going to be so vastly different than if you only left them money. Like, I absolutely talk to the financial advisors and the wealth advisors and all of that and do that side of it. But if you leave people money and don't leave them character
Or confidence
or confident, there's so many other ways that we can
that you
pour
can
in.
impact.
And for me, it's really important for me for my daughter to speak well of me, for my daughter to see me
Mm-hmm.
living an anchored life, for my son to hear me and be able to replicate my life through his wife, for him to be able to look for
Yes.
people of good character because he understands the importance of that. That's super important. And I don't think we think enough about that when we talk about our leadership, because our leadership, the way we lead ourselves, that's how our kids see us lead.
Mm-hmm.
That's how they see us, and that's how they internalize whether it's okay to be hypocritical or whether you actually should hold yourself accountable for what you say.
Mm-hmm.
If I said I'm going to do it, you can count on me to do it every single time, not just when I'm feeling good. I'm going to be the same person. If I don't feel good, I'm going to tell you I don't feel good, but I'm still not going to cuss you out. Right?
Or
So,
snap
like,
off of you.
there's some, right? There's some things I'm just never going to do, and you can trust that I'm never going to do that. So, as you think about what you're teaching through your leadership, meaning how you lead yourself first, what you're teaching other people is really important for generations to come.
You see those memes and stuff that say, what you think about me is none of my business. I always say, but it should be, not to the point where it's, not the,
It
how,
doesn't define me,
right, but it should matter because
but it should matter.
it should
Mhm.
matter.
It matters.
And
And I will say now, I said this on another podcast earlier, the cheap seat people, the people who are just spectators, who are not connected to my life and don't, if my husband says I'm not a good person, I'm listening to that.
right,
If my husband says, or my son or my daughter says, oh, mom, you messed this up, like this was wrong, you did this wrong, or you said this and I felt this way and that was wrong, I'm listening.
right,
If one of my clients said, like, I'm listening. But if somebody who is spectating,
in the cheap
not
seats.
part of my life, and they're in the cheap seats, like they're just viewing and
Did you say that on the
uh,
in the
uh,
interview? I was like, I heard that somewhere recently.
yes. Yeah, when you're in the cheap seats, like your opinion really doesn't matter to me because you're critiquing. You're not actually saying anything to uplift or to
Mm-hmm.
shift because I only hear from you when there's a critique. I don't want that. Which is, again, coming full circle in my first year of leadership, that's when I talked to people, when I focused on what they were doing wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I was in the cheap seats and didn't realize it. I thought that was leadership.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I applaud you for the courage to even acknowledge it, because a lot of leaders just they can be dead wrong and just doing awful,
Mm-mm.
but they're never going to acknowledge it. They're never
Which
going
is
to acknowledge it.
which is a part of the problem. I
Mm-hmm.
am human. There has only been one who was perfect.
Right.
So for me not to acknowledge when I mess up, it sends a message again to everyone I'm leading, to everyone who's following me, my children, my husband. It sends a message to everyone around me if I don't own when I'm wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
So we've
Is
got to just know.
is there any questions? I know we're getting wrapped into the hour with this. I know this was good. It'll give us some thumbs up if there's something she said that it's like, whoo, it was good. Yes, yes. Thank you. You're so welcome. We have a variety of people on this call on today. So I know some in leadership roles at their jobs, some in leadership roles at church, and leadership roles at their in like in our sorority and organizations,
Yeah.
and entrepreneurs. So we have a big variety of women
Love-
on this call that I think all of us can take something from it. But did anybody have any questions or comments before we um, wrap up? Oh, ooh, that was the
that was
whole
fancy.
applause. Did you see that?
That was
I
fancy.
wish more leaders own when they are wrong. Yes, very enlightening, even for someone who feels they are a seasoned
Mm,
leader.
yeah.
This
And
is all.
I would just say that one of my favorite quotes by Darius Daniels is, "You will always behave in a way that is consistent with how you view yourself." And so if you're operating just out here without knowing who you are, without doing the work of interrogating how you show up and whether your actions are aligned to who you say you are, I would push you to question whether you're really behaving in a way that's consistent with what you believe about yourself.
And get in the space. Challenge yourself to, even as a seasoned leader, to continue to grow, to continue to. I'll tell you the 21 Most Powerful Minutes of a Leader's Day by John Maxwell, where he takes his 21 laws of leadership, but he
Yeah.
does it through the Bible, through scripture and Bibles, giving you examples of good examples
Mhm.
of leaders and those who weren't so good.
Right?
That's a really good, from a spiritual standpoint, to kind of
Yeah.
see examples of that as well. So
Totally
awesome.
agree. I think Miss
Awesome.
Maxine had her hand raised.
Oh, I didn't even see it. I'm sorry, Maxine.
That's okay, Denise. Hello, Dr. Precious and everyone. I'm Maxine McGee. So, I don't know who put the questions in the chat earlier about, I don't know if it was you, Denise, about would you lead or be a friend or and so forth. Who put those
Mm.
questions?
Yes, that put it in our lead group. Yes, I did. Yes.
Yes. So, I actually at the end of our day today brought that to my team, and it was thought provoking.
I love
And
it.
it stirs some feelings. And one person walked away, and it was in a negative way. She took all of that and she came up with, those are people that are people pleasers. And I said, no, no, that's not what those what it means at all. It's and I said, these are mind provoking questions, but nothing as a to be a people pleaser, because you have to know your people. And that
Right.
doesn't mean that you're looking for validation, because that's what people pleasing is, valid. A person that's always
Right.
looking for validation. And so, I mean, yeah, it came off very negative to her, and everybody else was enlightened. It was like, Miss McGee, you got us thinking now. I said, that's why. Yes, because it made me think,
Yep.
it made me ask the questions to myself. So I just wanted to just pick their brain on it. And so, yeah, so one person just walked away with the negative thing, but all in all,
Re-
it was very, those were very, very mind-provoking questions, and it was much needed.
Maxine, read the question that you're referring to, because everybody on the call have not yet seen all the questions. So the
Okay,
one
let me get to them, and I will read them to you.
is in our group me.
Yeah, I'm going to them.
So it makes more sense with the other individual.
It was so hard for me to find them last time. I was like, where did these questions go?
Okay, I can get to it. Are you talking about the one in particular with the friend one?
Yes.
So the question was, so you guys know what she's talking to about. Oh, that's the wrong group. Here it is. It said,
Are
oh,
you someone you'd want to follow
there.
or even be friends with?
Yes,
That
but
one?
do all three.
Okay. So the first one was, what's anchoring your leadership when life gets loud? The second one was, how do you move from listing your values to actually living them? And the third one is, are you someone you'd want to follow or even be friends with?
And I used to ask my team all the time, my Mary Kay team, I said, was as we would talk about recruiting, it's like, why would somebody want to be on your team?
Mm-hmm.
Especially when they're not, weren't doing any, like, why would somebody want to be on your team? Like, why would somebody
Yep.
want to follow you? Just ask yourself that question. And then you
Exactly.
have to face the reality, like even would I want to even be on my team, you know? So that's a good
Yes.
question. I think we can always ask ourselves, would I be friends with, if
With
I
me.
treated somebody the way, um, if I was being treated by someone the way I'm treating someone else, would I even want to be friends with myself? You know, you have to ask yourself those
Yeah.
questions. Um,
Exactly. Exactly. And I mean, it's worth interrogating, where did that come from? And that's one of the questions. There are four questions that I often ask and that are in the last book that I released. And it's, how did I get here? Especially when there's conflict, this new update. How did I get here? What's in my hand? In other words, what tools or what experiences can I pull from that will move me from this place? And then, who am I listening to? Am I listening to me? Am I listening to the right side of me? Am I listening to the values-based side of me? Or am I listening to an old version of me who would pop off? Like, who am I actually listening to? Am I listening to the Holy Spirit in me that would, and I often say, if your Holy Ghost only makes you shout on Sunday and it doesn't make you close your mouth on Monday, I question your Holy Ghost. I got questions. And then finally, the last question is, who gets the glory? How can God get the glory out of this situation? Who gets the glory?
mhm.
So, based on how I react, based on how I'm treating people, who's getting the glory from that? It's just worth asking yourself, how did I get here? How did I get to this place in life? How did I get to this place in leadership? If it's conflict, how did I get to this place in conflict? What actually happened? And then what can I use? What do I already have? Sometimes we don't need to start from scratch. As
Mhm.
leaders, we have experiences we can pull from. What are the tools that I already have? What are the things that I've already experienced that I can pull from? Some of them did not go well, so I need to adjust and don't use that stuff.
Right, right.
So, pull from your experiences and pay attention to who you're listening to, because some of us don't have godly friends and confidants who will tell us what thus saith the Lord. They will tell us the stuff we used to do and what they would do if she said that to me. If he did that to me, I wouldn't take that. Who are you listening to? Are those the people you should be listening to? And how are you positioning God to get the glory? Because in all things, I want God to get the glory out of every minute of my life, every ounce of my effort, all of my energy. I want God to get the glory. So if I'm not treating people well, if someone brings to my attention I'm not treating them well, if I'm not speaking well of people, if I'm talking about someone and not going to them and actually talking to them, because sometimes leaders do that. We get too comfortable with a certain group of people in our organization, or the water cooler talk. What are you saying? Does that bring glory to God? What are you saying and who are you saying it to? Is that somebody you can actually get resolution from? Because if that person can't bring resolution, it's just conversation. And why are we just having conversation without getting to resolution? That's not a conversation God would be a part of. So as leaders, that's why I go back to, we have to be able to lead ourselves first. And a lot of things we can mitigate if we focus on leading ourselves first.
And the pressure, we're going to close out, and
Yeah.
one of the things that you were saying, even said the person from before that will pop off. I would even say to us is, when you're doing some work on yourself, trying to build your confidence, working on your deserve level, and that person starts to talk again, the old person, after
Mhm.
you can use everything you just said to that person too, the old
Yes,
you. Tell
you.
her, you can't give God glory, that's, you serve a bigger God. Sometimes we even got to talk to ourselves about some of the stuff we're saying to ourselves,
Yes, we
right?
should
So that
always
we
be
are able.
talking to ourselves.
Say it again.
I said we should always be talking to ourselves. Some people, we used to say it's crazy, don't talk to yourself. No, you better be talking to yourself
Right,
because there are
right.
things you need to hear yourself say.
And some of those thoughts you need to cancel out.
Yes, yes.
And
When we
remember,
say
you're not giving God glory when you try to talk about his people.
right,
And
right.
you his people.
And you as people, we hear in the old church all the time, you have to arrest those thoughts. Well, what does it look like to arrest the thoughts? When you're at the water cooler, when you're in the break room, when you having those thoughts and you're participating in those conversations, especially as a leader, that's where you have to stop yourself.
Exactly. So this was, anybody else have, I want to pull up your information so we did all of that. We got all of that to know how to, so tell them about your book, and then this is how you connect with her. I wanted to make sure you guys got this information before we close out on tonight.
Yes. So my latest book is How to Overcome Red Sea Moments as a Recovering Hypocrite. And it uses emotional intelligence, but it uses the story of Moses to talk to us specifically about some hypocritical behaviors based on what we say we believe and how it actually plays out in our lives. So it's a book, but it's also an interactive book. So there's space for you to write and journal as you come across the hypocritical behaviors that I'm sharing throughout the book. It's only about 34 pages. You can scan that QR code and order it from Amazon. It's a quick read, but it will change your life if you actually pay attention to all of the behaviors that are there.
And then on their website, on your,
Yes. So
oh,
the
there it is.
website, there are two different websites. You can go to either one of them to get to me. Feel free to reach out. My email is there, but the websites, the Gospel of Emotional Intelligence.com, that's the first one, or silentrocked.com. You can reach me on either one of those. I am excited to connect rather with others who do this work or who are interested, leaders who are leading at any level. I've spoken to groups from church groups, small women's groups to large theater sessions. So I'm excited to facilitate learning because that is absolutely my calling.
Awesome, awesome. So, oh my gosh, this was so good, which I knew it was going to be. Um, I appreciate you. I really appreciate you sharing your expertise. I always tell people we have some people who share from a testimony, they're sharing the expertise, and you did both because
Yes.
you shared with us just how you took your own personal experience and then how it became kind of like your mission,
Mhm.
mission work as well. I'm trying to find this little arrow, y'all, to go to the next page. I have, there you go through. Because I always like to leave at this page. But so thank you very much, Dr. Precious, for all that you shared on tonight. Those forms that you gave me, can I share? I can share that with them as well. Okay. So we can get copies of the two that she shared on tonight. Please reach out to her. She can support you in anything that you're doing with any organization that you are part of as well. And this is, I always like to tell people, empowered women empower. So you didn't just come on here for the sake of yourself. We are Sisters Keepers. So if you know of anybody that can benefit from the information, share it with them. This is recorded. You can find it on my YouTube website, Empowered by DS, as well, to share with other people that you think, may need to hear a little bit about leading themselves, or being able to share. All of our previous recordings are on there as well, so you can check those out as well. So I encourage you to take what you have heard today to not only empower yourself, think of your family, your friends, your coworkers, and so that we can, like Maxine talked about that puzzle piece, be able to really impact other pieces that are connected connected with us. So remember, we share because we care. We share because we care. So I appreciate you guys being on tonight. If you have any other questions, just let us know. Hopefully you got all her information to be able to connect with her as well. She's on LinkedIn. Now that I finally am on LinkedIn, I'll be like, she's on LinkedIn. And so connect with her that way as well. So you guys enjoy your night. Thank you for getting on. You had almost 30 people on tonight.
Oh,
So
yay.
awesome. So you guys have a blessed rest of the week. Good
Thank
night.
you so much. Good night.